One. Hey, what's up, Weekend Warriors? Welcome back to another episode of Sunday Night Stream on the Weekend Dojo. And tonight I am joined by Oleg. Assassin or Adrian could not join us tonight. He had an emergency dentist appointment, so he's not going to be able to make it. Tonight we're talking about a subject that I personally have an attachment to, Gunpla. Now, what is Gunpla? Well, anyone who's watched the show Gundam has probably heard of it. For those of you who don't know, in Japan they abbreviate the words plastic model, as in the hobby of plastic model kit building, to plamo or puramo. And there are many Gundam plastic models, which originally were Gundam puramo, but then they shortened it even more to Gunpla, or Gunpla as we call it here in the West. Now that's pretty much it's a hobby kit system of parts on sprues that you would cut with sprue cutters or rail cutters like these.
Now, did that start in 2010? The kits? Is that when they were first released?
No. They started way back in the 70s.
Oh, okay. Oh wow, it's a long time ago.
Oh yeah, they've been around a good long while.
Good grief.
Well, because that's how long the show's been around. Now, they are what you would call the original ones were snapped together in a sense. Snapped together kits being kits that you didn't necessarily need glue to complete. As they went on, they introduced things like, well, they're polycaps, which are little rubber caps essentially that joints fit into, so that it's not plastic rubbing against plastic when you move it. And eventually that led into the creation of their grade system, which was essentially how they measured difficulty. So you had, I believe you had your I think that's 1 to 200th scale advanced grade Gundams, which are actually their easiest version. Then you have SD, which the scale's a little mushy there. But that is the chibi-fied Gundams with the big heads and the large pupils and the little tiny bodies.
Then there's a 1 to 144 scale?
The 1 to 144th scale high grade, which is the next most difficult. And commonly buy kits in that and the next grade up. But here is an unfinished high grade missing a few pieces of the RX-78-2, which is the original Gundam. This is not an original model kit. This is from the Gunpla starter set. I didn't have an RX-78-2, so I got that one. And that's on the Gundam Build Fighters GP base, by the way. So that is the 1 to 144th scale high grade. The next level up in difficulty is actually the 1 to 100th scale master grade, and that has many more moving parts. It has a pilot's cockpit, and the whole shebang, really. It has a slot. Some of them have slots for LEDs and whatnot. Now, the next level up in difficulty goes back down to 1 to 144th scale, and that's real grade. And a lot of these kits from this difficulty onward are famous for having parts that are already broken on the sprue because there's so many tiny ones. But real grade is great for the people who love to see all the little details of what's supposed to be in the robot. And then the next level above that is perfect grade, which is, I believe, 1 to 60th scale.
Now, how did they choose? Now, how did they come up with those scales? Like, why did they choose that 1 to 60, 1 to 144? What was the reason behind choosing those specific numbers?
Well, 1 to 144th scale means that it's one. It is that the real version of that Gundam would be 144 times bigger. What that measures out to is about a 6-inch figure.
Oh, okay.
In most Gundams, and then everything else is to scale around it.
Okay.
So, if you take a 10-inch master grade, the real version is going to be 100 times bigger.
That
And
makes sense.
if you get a perfect grade, the real version is supposed to be 60 times bigger.
Hmm.
Now, aside from just getting bigger figures, what are you getting in these grade changes? Well, advanced grade is great for kids who are just barely starting out. They've only got about 5 moving parts. SD is great for kids who like a modular building system that is kidified. They're getting into the more complex stuff. They like the really elaborate looking stylizations on it. High grade is for the casual builder who has amassed a certain amount of skills. They want a little more detail. They want a little more posability. They want something expressive that they can still have a fun time painting.
Mm.
Master grade is for the guy who wants a little more, well, dynamic features, essentially, because the latest version of the Master Grade RX-78-2 has the Core Fighter, which is a little plane that forms up that red midsection of the RX-78-2. And then they've got, most Master Grades have a cockpit. But so do real grades, but real grades also have a lot of the other little details that are underneath the armor. So, that's really for the model kit builder who likes the whole half-finished look and he's setting up dioramas. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have to show to the YouTubers out there what they look like, the grade types?
Well, I showed my high grade. I had a master grade built, but at some point it got set down and I can't find it.
Oh, okay.
And I have an unfinished SD, as well as 2 other unfinished, or 1 other unfinished high grade kit bash. Now, what a kit bash is essentially when you're taking 2 kits, each with features that you like, and you just combine the features from each kit onto one model.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a bit of trouble with this that I'm having. You see, even though they're both high grade and they're to the same scale, they are built using different eras of the high grade system. You see, I am kit bashing the Goof Custom and the Marasai. Now, the Goof Custom has a little female polycap on the underside of its waist that plugs right onto what is essentially the spine built into the hips. Now, for the Marasai, it has a little female polycap in the hips that plugs up onto a ball joint that is essentially the spine of the Marasai. Now, I need the hips from the Marasai, but the torso from the Goof, so I need to create an adapter that will fit both those female polycaps and allow him some free range of movement. But I have no scratch building skills, which is something I'm hopefully going to improve. Speaking of techniques used, for those who are thinking of getting into Gunpla, who want to buy a kit but aren't really sure how they're going to make the kit look good, what I would recommend is going on to Gundam.info. It's the official website in the West for Gundam. You can watch all the episodes of the latest Gundam series on there for free with ads. And it has a video series called Gunpla School, which gives you tips and tricks, provided that you already know the basics of building Gundam, of building a model kit. You know, cut the parts in such a way, follow the instructions. Going on, I guess we should talk a little bit about Gunpla and pop culture recently, as there is an anime out now that I would recommend you guys watch, Gundam Build Fighters and its subsequent seasons. So that means Gundam Build Fighters Try, Gundam Build Fighters Try Season 2, Gundam Build Fighters Try Island Wars, Gundam Build Fighters Battlelog. Just go watch them. They're great. But they actually sprinkled in with the insanity of being able to move one's gunpla by manipulating particles that react across the surface of the plastic. They give you some genuinely practical advice as to how to really detail a gunpla. And they actually make references to a contest that's been going on since 2011, the GBWC. Now, what the GBWC is the Gunpla Builders World Cup. Now, what does that entail exactly? That means that after so many years of Gunpla being this huge hobby, Bandai of Japan decided, you know what, we're going to turn this worldwide hobby into a competition and put a little glory on it, and show appreciation for the hobbyists that have been so loyal to our brand. So now, out of so many countries every year, and I think the number of countries keeps growing with every passing year, there are preliminaries for the GBWC held all over the country at different conventions. And then out of each group of competitors, there is picked a country's representative and 2 runners-up. Now, the representative gets sent to Japan for the finals, where they are judged against very well-known editors and writers for hobby magazines, as well as a special guest judge. Not only that, but Meijin Kawaguchi, the man who designs these model kits, shows up to sort of host the event at Gundam Front in Tokyo, which is actually down in Odaiba. Now, what the big deal is here is that you essentially get to take this hobby, this thing that you normally wouldn't brag about to people, and you get to turn it into a shot at a gold trophy and your face on television and your name all across the web.
Kind of like Pokemon.
A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but it allows you a way to express yourself. There's a line that comes up in Gundam Build Fighters a lot that I think is kind of, well, it's definitely them tooting their own horn, but I love the sentiment behind it. The line is, Gunpla is freedom. Because no matter what your skill level, with just a little bit of know-how, you can make a gunpla that is totally unique to you. And, why not hold a competition just so that the world can see how loved this hobby is? Not only that, but entrants will get to rub shoulders with other amazing builders. And they'll get to talk, techniques and what they did to get this to happen. And, how they got the paint to do this, or what parts they used for this model. And it's sort of a sense of camaraderie. Um, you never really know how much you know about what you're doing versus other people's until you actually get to meet some very extreme examples. Um, Personally, I'm going to try to enter the GBWC this year. I've got some kits picked out, and I've got an idea. It's just I'm going to be trying some new things on it. I wouldn't consider myself a great builder, but I figure the only way I'm gonna get better is to be defeated and stand up alongside, but in a competitive, in a friendly, competitive way, so that I can look and see, okay, this is what looks good. This is what these are the techniques that I need to learn to improve myself and my hobby. And it's kind of I'm going to approach it the way I approached guitar, essentially. I'm going to learn it one little technique at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is unlikely because this is my first time entering. And when I say unlikely, I mean very unlikely. But if I win, I do believe NecoCon is one of the preliminary. Don't quote me on this, but I do believe NecoCon is one of the preliminary locations in the tier box, which means that there's a likelihood that I will have to go down to Virginia, where the rest of you guys are,
Mm-hmm.
and to continue my competition, which I can probably get sponsored by my work. Which means that if we all go to NecoCon, we can actually film a video there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which would be awesome.
It really would. I would love to actually get to see you guys in person.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of model kits, let's just talk a little bit about the hobby store, because I think this is important. Now, the hobby shop is rapidly disappearing, and I understand that with the advent of online stores and whatnot, it can get pretty easy to just not go to the hobby shop. But see, they're worth having because, okay, maybe if you're not a hobbyist, you don't understand this, but I'm sure you can imagine something very similar to it. It's a Saturday and you're off work or you're off school and you just kind of want to relax and do your own thing and you want to melt into your hobby. You realize you're out of something, and instead of getting upset, you think, oh boy, I get to go to the hobby shop. And at the same time, your wallet's going, God damn it, he's going to the hobby shop. And you go down there, and it's like you get the cement or the paint or the thinner that you need, and then you're sitting there going, well, I could always use a new pair of screw cutters, and oh look, a new kit's in, and oh look, paint that I don't have colors for yet. And yes, you spent a lot of money in that scenario, but you spent it on something that you love to do, and that's not wasted money.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go online, yes, that becomes a whole lot easier. But keep in mind that hobby shops are run by hobbyists too. This is how they're expressing what they love.
Yeah. And you can also see the actual item in person before it ships and make sure it's not a rip-off of it. Like for Pokemon cards, if I were to shop, because like was it Comic King? Comic King is a store where they have um, Pokemon cards or different cards, Magic cards, and I used to go to that place a lot, and because I could actually trust what the cards they stock there because they're open and they're a lot cheaper at that place than you would find online. And then but the issue with shopping for certain collectible items is you don't get to see them firsthand if they've been actually damaged or if it's a fake, or because there are ways to tell from Pokemon card, because on the card there's a black little color ink if to tell if it's fake or not inside them, between the two cardboards. So that's another thing in terms of online shopping, is if you don't know if it's whether it's real or fake or not.
Exactly. So the bottom line is support your local hobby shops. Buy an old comic book, get a new model kit, get an RC vehicle, try something new. Because the thing is, hobbies are for everyone. Everyone should have a hobby. And it's just for some people it's sports, for some people it's watching a show, but to do something with your hands and to look down on it, even if it only looks roughly like what it does in the instructions, to say, "Hey, I did that." That's a feeling that you will be able to come back to again and again, and it will still feel just as good. So, if you are a hobbyist, I would say please locate your local hobby shops with actual inventory in shop. If you're not a hobbyist, consider one. What are your interests? See if there's anything in the hobby world connected to that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a model kit. It could be painting or drawing or collecting cards or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can get into RC. And you know what? Even if you like the idea of building little model robots, but you're not necessarily a fan of Gundam, and you would just like to build a robot that isn't attached to any anime series, I would recommend Kotobukiya's Build Arms line. They are 1 to 100th scale models. They are unique robots to Kotobukiya. They don't exist in any anime, so you can create your own scenarios with them. And you don't need any different tools than what you would use on a Gunpla. Some sprue cutters, sandpaper files, paint if you want to, plastic cement if you want to. It's more or less the same across the board, which is another cool thing about building hobbies or building model hobbies or snap together kits, is if you've got the tools for one sect of it, you've at least got some of the tools you need for another. And you can actually, if you want to, you can invest in a really good set of tools that will last you a long time so you can do all those different hobbies. Me, I did not make that executive decision, and these are already getting gummed up with plastic, so I am gonna have to get some new ones soon. Actually, I think anyone who was a middle school kid has probably heard of, or even an elementary school kid back in the 2000s will be able to remember shows like Beyblade and Battle Beat 'em On.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably your first, if you ever got any of the toys to them, your first exposure to model kit building off of a sprue. Because they all came on those little plastic runners, and you had to pop the parts out and put them together.
Mm-hmm. And you can switch the tops and with different tops from different series, and so
exactly that same concept still exists in Gunpla and Kotobukiya and all these great model kits. At the same time, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go online to hobby stores if your local hobby store doesn't have what you want. But if you can support them, at the same time, if they don't have Sofubi, go to Big Bad Toy Store. If your local hobby shop doesn't have Japanese import Transformers, go to places like Hobby Link Japan. Ami Ami and Mandarake are other great sites. But like I said, just make sure that there is no other way for you to get what you're looking for before you go to these sites, just to support a dying business. I mean, it shouldn't be dying. Uh,
I don't think the businesses are dying. I think they're just going online. So,
well, the trouble is that you've got a lot of older hobby shops that don't have the skills to make the upgrade into the technical age.
mm-hmm.
And it's going to get to the point where the only hobby shops able to survive are the ones who have an online store, and their shop is more or less a warehouse instead of a walk-in place.
Yeah.
Like obviously you'd be able to walk into it, but I think the majority of their business is going to come from online, and at that point they lose that customer interaction where it's one hobbyist talking to another. It's like, hey, what paint should I use for this? Or I'm looking for this kind of a cut, but I don't think you carry the brand I'm looking for. Do you have a substitute? And there's an interaction there of someone who's experienced in the hobby world who knows most about whatever's in his shop.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you go online, you're not going to be able to get that kind of advice without having to go through dozens of forums giving the same wrong answer. Or the answer that doesn't work for you, I guess I should say, because if it does happen a lot, then obviously it is the right answer, but maybe it's not the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean is like maybe your situation is a little bit different. Now, there's all kinds of hobby shops. You've got bookstores are a kind of hobby shop. You've got the model kit shops, the which usually are all-encompassing hobby shops. You've got your comic book shops. You've got
your coin collection hobby shop.
exactly. So, and I've seen. Okay, in the city where I work, there have been two different nerd shops in the same little spot by the movie theater, and they both had to sell all their stock and move because they couldn't afford to keep them open because no one was coming, and that's a shame to me because that's another kind of hobby shop.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry if I'm getting worked up, but this is kind of important.
No, I agree with you. I do agree that people should go to support their local hobby shops.
Like I'm
Because
sure,
those are dying. Like Amazon's taking over like certain stores like Common Keen or what was one of the stores that I used to go? It was one of those. They had a whole bunch of Pokemon cards for cheap. You can buy them like put coins in, and but because more of those superstores, like online superstores, are taking like buying out other stores, we're actually losing the actual local shops building where people couldn't don't have the answers, can't ask the questions of how like get professional help besides except for paying lots of money, and they want to know a certain answer how to do certain things in that area field, losing those like professionals. Um,
yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. Oh, Hey, Entertainers Warehouse, thanks for showing up. We're probably only going to be running for another 20 minutes. Sorry, but where was I? Anyway, so on the subject of model kits, let's talk about something that Bondi does that I don't know of other companies doing, although they might. Um, the Gunpla line has something called EchoPla, and what that is you can send uh, plastic sprues to Shizuoka, which get broken down again into plastic to make new Gunpla called Ecopla, and they're the black and white ones. So when you walk into a hobby store and you see a Gunpla in a black and white box, that's not a special edition. It's recycled plastic. It's their attempt at allowing hobbyists to get a cheaper version of something that is also, helps cutting down on waste.
Which is smart. Instead of just throwing away that thing, they use it for something else. So.
Entertainers Warehouse, what are we talking about? Well, the general subject matter is Gunpla, but we're going off into hobbies in general. But, yeah, Ecopla is... Weirdly, it's not something I find very often here in the West. For the most part, I think it's mainly... They sell out in Japan, so they never have a chance to export any.
Why are they so popular?
Because they're cheaper, and if you're a real hobbyist, then you're going to paint it anyway, so the color of the plastic doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But they are of the same build quality as regular Gunpla. So it really is a bargain to pick it up. But like I said, they're kind of hard to find over here in the West because they sell out pretty quickly. Really, I think sorry, getting a little juice here. What I find with model kits is, yes, anyone of any skill level can get into it, and there's a model kit for everyone. So, talk to your car friend. Talk to your car friends. It's just like, ask them, would they really like, if they can't own the car, would they like to own the image of it? And they can glue together and paint their own model kit of it and display it on their shelf and say, that's how I would want mine to be someday in the future. Something? We've got like 15 minutes left. How about we go off into sort of a general discussion?
All right.
So, tell me, what's going on with you in your rig lately?
I have actually been, my YouTube channel has been doing pretty good in terms of subscription wise. Last time we were on, I gained 4 new subscribers, so which was the most subscribers. Well, this month I've gained like 14 new subscribers this month alone, which is more than I've gained in all my other months combined. But besides that, nothing else new, and I did mess up. One of my gameplays froze, and I had to delete that. So when people are watching my YouTube channel on that most recent gameplay, it has a huge part of it cut out because I had to delete that whole episode, which was like an hour long. And so I had to explain to them why I had to do that because my equipment didn't work, and so I had to record all that. So, and I didn't feel like recording an hour long. Actually, it would have been over a couple days worth of new material, just to get back to where I was. So I decided just to move on and start a new episode. So.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah, it sucks when technology does not want to cooperate with you, which I'm pretty sure you've had before happen to you.
Many times.
Actually, any YouTubers probably had happen before. It's frustrating because, especially when you lose all that footage that you did. And so,
Yeah.
that was.
Speaking of YouTubing, I'm actually going to be improving my setup. I'm going to be buying some I've ordered some soft light boxes, which should
Mm,
provide better lighting for my reviews
mm,
in the future.
yeah.
I just got a new camera. That's a Canon Vixia. I ordered a shotgun mic for it, so that should improve the sound quality. And my review set is undergoing some renovations, so the overall visual look of the channel is going to change a lot.
Let me tell you, what equipment are you using to do your reviews? Like like setup, because I didn't get your specs.
Oh, well, I've got the Canon Vixia. Well, this one is the HF-R800. I am using a Samson Meteor mic with a Dragon Pad pop filter on a Tonor microphone stand here. And like I said, I will be using soft light boxes, and I will be getting a new shotgun mic for this.
That would be nice.
So the lighting's going to look a lot better. Picture quality is going to look a lot better. I'm going to update I think I'm going to update my channel banner pretty soon. And ultimately, I just want to make a better channel for you guys.
Yeah, that's the goal of anyone.
And I'm going to try to get back into reviewing as best I can. I just finished writing the script for Titans Return Chrome Dome today. I'm going to be doing some dry runs of that over the course of the week, and I should have it uploaded Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, maybe not Saturday. Maybe the Sunday of the Sunday night stream.
Okay. Cool.
I'm going to be trying some new stuff with this video, and I'm really excited. Well, it was kind of a short stream, but do you want to call it here since I think we've kind of run dry?
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, this would have been a longer stream, but Adrian, like I said, had his dentist appointment, and this is not a subject that Oleg knows a lot
Yeah,
about.
I only know on technology stuff, a lot about current technology.
But
And
what we will be
Pokemon.
doing, yeah, what we will be doing next week is right in Oleg's wheelhouse. We will be doing Pokemon. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for understanding. And as always, we will see you later, Weekend Warriors.